Both my wife and I were struggling financially. She had pretended to be disabled to protect me, and I worked tirelessly, juggling 3 jobs to support her. But all that hard work took a toll on me, and I eventually ended up with a bleeding stomach. What I never expected was to learn that she had been faking her disability all along to deceive me. She wasn't poor at all. In fact, she was the only daughter of the wealthiest family in Hing, capable of casually transferring $4 million to her first love. To save up for her supposed leg injury treatment, I worked as a waiter at a party one night. My legs went numb from standing so long, but then I saw someone I recognized, and I froze. In the middle of a group, a woman stood out in an elegant dress, her face delicate and strikingly beautiful, radiating an aura of nobility. At first I thought it was just my imagination, but as I stared longer, it became clear. It was my wife, Violetta. What on earth was she doing here? Just moments earlier, I had overheard others saying that everyone attending the party tonight was a major figure in the business world, highly influential people. But Violetta had always been penniless. How could she possibly fit into such a circle? Then, as I watched, she stood up and walked toward the sofa. My heart skipped a beat. Her leg wasn't disabled at all. I remembered the night before when I had been holding her in bed and told her, "I want to earn a lot of money and take you to a big hospital to treat your leg." She had kissed my cheek softly and replied, "You don't need to tire yourself out. I don't want you to work too hard." She had paused for a moment, showing a hint of guilt and frustration on her face. "I'm sorry, husband. If my leg weren't broken, you wouldn't have to work so hard to support us." The thought of this choked me up, as if a giant hand were squeezing my throat. My breathing became difficult. In the midst of the crowd, wearing a mask and uniform, Violetta didn't notice me. I had to uncover the truth. Quietly, I moved behind the sofa and eavesdropped on their conversation. One woman wearing glasses asked, "I thought you weren't coming tonight." Violetta replied lazily, "Staying in that tiny place every day feels suffocating." The woman laughed a few times and said, "I see. You've been playing around so long and now you still haven't gone back. You must have really fallen for someone like Sebastian, haven't you?" Violetta sneered and replied, "Him? Who are you insulting? He's just like a stray animal by the side of the road, someone to entertain myself with when I'm bored. He's not worth anything serious." Then, she continued, "I hired someone to pretend my leg was disabled, and he believed it. He works day and night thinking he's saving money to treat my leg. Isn't that hilarious?" As she spoke, they both burst out laughing. I felt as though my heart was being slashed by a knife, and I could hardly breathe. How could the woman who slept beside me every night say such things? I thought she loved me, but it turned out I was nothing more than a toy to her. The thought of it was unbearable. The woman with glasses, still laughing, added, "That's right. If Tomas hadn't fallen for someone else, you wouldn't have been so determined to provoke Sebastian." She continued, "I heard Tomas went crazy when he found out you were married. He broke up with his girlfriend and might come back to try to win you over." Violetta replied with a hum, "As long as he comes back, I'll divorce Sebastian and be with him right away." The woman with glasses asked, "So, what about Sebastian? How will you get rid of him?" Violetta narrowed her eyes and said, "I can't let him find out who I really am, or it will be impossible to get rid of him and his dreadful mother. That woman's greedy face makes me sick. If she knew I was rich, she'd show up at my door every day asking for money. Just thinking about it is disgusting." My heart tightened. So she was the only daughter of Hing's wealthiest man, so incredibly rich. She wasn't the poor girl I had thought she was. When my mother had first found out I was marrying Violetta, she strongly opposed it, agreeing only if we paid her 20,000 yuan. Violetta claimed she didn't have the money, but knowing my mom's nature, I knew she wouldn't let it go without getting the money. So, I gritted my teeth and used my savings to hand her the 20,000. The woman with glasses then laughed mischievously and asked, "So, who do you think is better in bed, Sebastian or Tomas?" Chapter 2. Violetta's voice dripped with contempt as she replied, "He doesn't even deserve to be compared to Tomas." My face turned pale. Each word Violetta spoke felt like a knife twisting deeper into my heart. If she had any respect for me at all, she wouldn't have discussed such a humiliating subject with another woman. I wanted to throw my drink in her face and demand an explanation for why she treated me this way. But I couldn't. I was powerless, with no status, and if she decided to turn on me, I had no way to fight back. All I wanted was to escape from there, but perhaps I was too flustered. When I turned around, I accidentally bumped into someone. The sound of glass shattering on the floor echoed in the air. Before I could apologize, I was slapped, and a man's angry voice came from above. "You blind fool! How dare you bump into me?" I was stunned by the slap, and it took me a few seconds to lower my head and apologize. "I'm sorry." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Violetta walking over, and my heart leapt into my throat. I was afraid she might recognize me. She walked straight toward the man who had slapped me, then asked softly, "Tomas, are you hurt?" My body went rigid. It was Tomas, Violetta's unforgettable first love. His features were sharp and handsome, and he was dressed in an elegant suit, clearly a rich young master. I quickly lowered my head even more, as my frequent overtime had left my face haggard, and I hadn't eaten a proper meal in days to save money. Violetta glanced at me with visible displeasure. "Why don't you hurry up and leave?" she said coldly. I clenched my fists tightly, struggling to hold back tears, and walked away with difficulty. Slowly, as I walked, I heard Tomas's voice behind me, speaking to Violetta. "Violetta, I recently lost over 3 million in the stock market. My parents will definitely scold me when they find out. Can you transfer me some money?" Violetta immediately pulled out her phone. "I've transferred 4 million to you. If it's not enough, let me know." I froze in my tracks and turned my head mechanically to glance at them. Tomas embraced Violetta happily and kissed her cheek a few times. "Thank you, Violetta. I knew you were the best to me." My heart clenched in agony as I watched the scene unfold. I remembered when we first got married and I needed surgery for my appendicitis, but couldn't afford the medical bills. Violetta had held me helplessly, crying, saying, "Husband, I'm so useless. I can't even afford your surgery. What should we do?" Seeing her cry, I had promised her I would find a way. I borrowed money from friends to cover the cost of the surgery. Yet now she had casually transferred 4 million to her first love. The stark contrast was unbearable, like a knife cutting through my chest. I dragged myself out of the hotel and walked the streets like a zombie. Suddenly, I tripped over something and fell to the ground. Seeing the blood on my knees and palms, I finally broke down. It felt like the last straw that pushed me over the edge. Tears streamed down my face. I remembered our past. Violetta had been my neighbor a year ago. She was kicked out by her landlord for not paying rent and was sleeping in the stairwell. When I walked by, she grabbed my pant leg and asked if she could stay the night because she had a fever. At first, I ignored her, but then, seeing how cold it was and how she was shivering, I turned back. I remembered my own lonely, helpless past, so I decided to take her in. I initially planned to let her go once her fever broke, but several days passed, and she still didn't get better. She cooked and cleaned for me, showing me care and concern. One night after work, she was waiting for me at the corner when she was harassed by a drunk. I stopped him just in time, but he picked up a stick to hit me. At that critical moment, Violetta stepped in front of me, saving me from the blow and becoming disabled in the process. I grew up in a single-parent family where my mother constantly scolded me and demanded I earn more money. I had always lacked love. No one had ever protected me the way Violetta did. After that, we grew close, and I proposed, hoping to build a warm family together. But now, I realized that all of it had been a lie. What I thought was deep, unforgettable love was nothing more than a carefully orchestrated game. Returning home, I looked at the various household items on the table, all discounted goods I had fought for at the supermarket yesterday. I had been so proud of how much I saved, sharing it with Violetta. She had praised me for it. Now, looking back, I realized she was probably laughing at me for being so naive. I took a shower, but the pain from my knees and palms, stinging like needles, didn't matter anymore. I wanted to remember this pain, to carry it with me. I packed Violetta's things into a box and left them at the door. Just as I stood up, my phone rang. Chapter 3. I pulled out my phone and saw the contact name, Wife. Seeing that title made my eyes well up with emotion. When I answered, Violetta's voice came through. "Honey, when will you be back?" I'm not very quick on the uptake, but even I could tell the reason for her call. She was testing me to see if I'd be home tonight. If I wasn't, it meant she could spend time with Tomas. My mind was a mess, and I didn't want to deal with her at that moment. Closing my eyes, I replied, "I'm on the night shift tonight. I won't be home during the day." I worked at a company, and in the evenings, I worked as a security guard in a neighborhood. In between, I did food delivery. Tonight, I had been called in to work as a waiter at the last minute. It was just another part-time job, so I told her that. On the other end, Violetta seemed relieved. "Remember to drink plenty of water and rest if you get tired," she said, her fake concern grating on me. I couldn't hold it in anymore and hung up the phone. If she really cared about me, how could she stand to let me work 3 jobs? After a long, exhausting day of working like a dog, I collapsed onto the narrow sofa, unable to sleep. The entire night passed in a blur. At dawn, I heard the sound of keys turning in the lock, so I got up and walked over to the door. When it opened, I saw Violetta standing outside. She seemed momentarily surprised, her eyes flashing with confusion. Usually I went straight to the company after my night shifts, so she must have been caught off guard by my unexpected presence. But Violetta was a skilled actress. She limped a step forward and called out, "Husband." She was wearing a simple t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers, items I had bought for her from an online discount store, each piece costing no more than 20 yuan. At the party the night before, I couldn't understand why she had been pretending to be disabled, but now I saw the truth. She had been using her disability as an excuse to avoid working, playing both sides. At that moment, I had been so deeply touched, thinking I was lucky to have such a good woman by my side. I promised myself I would cherish her forever. Violetta smiled at me and asked, "Honey, why are you standing at the door? Were you waiting for me?" I looked at her in silence. If I hadn't gone to the party the night before and discovered the truth, I would have rushed to hug her and call her wife. I would have continued working day and night for her, even if it meant enduring stomach ulcers, surviving on instant noodles at work, and pretending to diet when my colleagues asked. Then, one day, when she had had her fill of the game, she would have cast me aside. How could she treat me this way? So heartlessly. As I thought about this, my tears began to flow. I pointed to the box at my feet. "I've packed your things. They're in this box." Violetta panicked when she saw me crying and reached out to embrace me. But in an instant, all I could think of was Tomas holding her, that same sweet, gentle expression she gave him. She had treated me the same way, but with me, it had been fake, and with Tomas, it was real. I instinctively stepped back, shaking my head. "Don't touch me. Don't touch." Violetta looked at me helplessly, her eyes turning red, genuinely worried as she asked, "Honey, why are you crying? Are you upset because I wasn't here when you came back?" She then added, "I'm sorry. It's my fault. I just went out to look for a job. I felt so bad seeing you work so hard every day. I didn't mean to worry you. Please don't be mad at me. I promise I won't do it again. Please don't leave me." Her pitiful face made me wipe away my tears. "Do you really feel sorry for me? Do you really consider me your husband?" I asked, my voice shaking. Violetta sighed helplessly, looking at me with wide, innocent eyes. "Honey, what are you talking about? Of course I care about you." But all I could think of was her saying that liking me was an insult, and how she had dismissed me, saying I wasn't worthy of being compared to Thomas. Her disdainful expression haunted me like I was nothing but trash. I pushed down the pain and handed her the divorce papers. "These are divorce papers. Sign them." Violetta froze for a moment, her eyes still wide with confusion. "Honey, what do you mean by this?" I looked at her with red, tear-filled eyes, and with a sarcastic edge in my voice said, "Miss Jiang, you're healthy and noble. Do you have trouble understanding the word divorce?" Chapter 4. Violetta continued to feign innocence, asking, "Honey, what do you mean by Miss Jiang? I don't understand." I couldn't believe she was still pretending at this point. Did she think I was that easy to deceive? Anger surged through me, and I pointed to the bruise on my face. "The waiter at the party last night was me," I said, before grabbing a water glass from the box and smashing it against her right leg, shouting, Your leg isn't even crippled. You liar. How long were you planning to deceive me? I glared at her, voice cold and hard. You don't need to worry about getting rid of me anymore. I'm the one leaving you. The glass shattered on the floor, and Violetta froze, stunned. After a few seconds of silence, she composed herself and adopted a haughty demeanor. I didn't expect you to discover my identity so quickly. It saves me from making more excuses. She took out a bank card and handed it to me. There's 200,000 yuan in this card. I didn't take it. No need. The divorce agreement is clear. I've kept track of every expense since we got married. Just give me half back. Don't worry, I won't ask for a penny more. Violetta looked at me in disbelief. You don't want this card? You can't be serious. I thought someone like you would never refuse 200,000 yuan. But she didn't know that I had worked tirelessly just to treat her leg injury. Suddenly, a man's voice came from behind. I turned and saw Tomas approaching. He wrapped his arm around Violetta's waist, his eyes full of disdain as he looked at me. I'm warning you, he said. Divorce her quickly. Don't think you can keep pestering her. Violetta's not someone like you can just covet. I stared at him, expressionless, and said coldly, Divorce is between me and Violetta. You don't get to warn me. Tomas, embarrassed and furious, raised his hand to slap me again, but this time I grabbed his wrist to stop him. Enough! Violetta glared at me, her voice sharp. Try touching him. Tomas shook off my hand, a mocking smile playing on his lips. My eyes were bloodshot, my heart numb with pain. I pressed my lips together, saying, If you love him so much, why don't you hurry up and get the divorce procedures done? Violetta looked at me, resigned. Fine, let's get divorced. Half an hour later, we arrived at the registration office. There weren't many people at that hour, so it wasn't long before it was our turn. I remembered how quickly we had gotten our marriage certificate before. Back then, I had been so overjoyed. But now, I felt nothing but emptiness inside. After I signed my name, it was Violetta's turn, but she didn't move. Instead, she turned to me and asked, Carlos, I'll ask you one more time. Are you sure you want to divorce me? Are you sure you won't regret it? I forced a smile and replied, Violetta, marrying you is the biggest regret of my life. Her face immediately darkened, and she picked up the pen, signing the divorce papers. Without another word, I didn't look at her again and walked away, not turning back. When I got home, I saw her things still sitting at the door. She hadn't taken them, and I wasn't surprised. After all, they were probably nothing more than trash to her. I picked up the box and threw everything in the garbage, just like I was throwing Violetta away. I slept for hours, waking up to find it was already dark. Not wanting to cook, I called my friend Tomas and asked if he wanted to grab dinner. I told him about Violetta pretending to be poor and crippled to deceive me, and he was furious. That's too much. You can't just let her off the hook like that. You should take half of her assets, he said. She offered me 200,000 yuan, I told him, but I didn't take it. Tomas looked at me incredulously. You didn't take 200,000? Are you crazy? I took a sip of my beer, trying to calm myself. Before, she wouldn't even give me a few thousand for my surgery, and now she suddenly offers me 200,000? Who knows what kind of trap she's setting for me? Tomas nodded. That's true, but still it makes me so mad. I swear if I see her again, I'll curse her out. I was really upset, so I drank a lot. In the end, Tomas had to take me home. The next day, I gathered myself and went to work. A woman like Violetta wasn't worth my time, and I realized I needed to look ahead. Without Violetta, my life felt calm and peaceful. I quit my part-time security job and decided to use my free time to improve myself. I started preparing for another certification. I didn't actively follow Violetta's life, but one day I saw her walking down the street with Tomas, holding hands and shopping like a couple. I felt nothing. Maybe it was because I no longer loved her. That evening, while I was studying, I got a call from Tomas. Carlos, come to our hotel quickly, he said. I asked what happened, and he replied, Don't ask, just come. There's something interesting to see. When I arrived, I saw a crowd outside the hotel. Some people had cameras and were taking pictures, probably reporters. I didn't see Tomas, but I did see Violetta. She looked furious and her expression startled me. She stormed out of the hotel lobby, got into a car, and drove off. Tomas came over, laughing heartily. "You're late! You missed quite the show! Turns out Tomas brought a female model to the hotel tonight, and Violetta caught them. She beat up the model to get back at Tomas. I tipped off the reporters and posted it online. Now everyone knows Violetta got cheated on." I gave Tomas a thumbs up. "You're truly my good brother." Violetta had deceived me, and now she was being deceived by Tomas. It was her karma. The next evening, after work, I came home and unexpectedly saw Violetta at my door. She was holding a bag of peanuts, my favorite. She smiled and said, "Carlos, these are your favorite peanuts. Have some." I replied indifferently, "I don't like them anymore." Violetta's hand froze in midair. After a pause, she said, "Let's get back together, Carlos. I'll make sure you have a good life. We'll have servants at home, a driver when you go out. You won't have to work. I'll buy you whatever you want. I'll return this apartment tomorrow and move in with you." I looked at her, and when she said this, it didn't sound like a request. It sounded like she was granting me a favor. Did she think I was someone she could summon and dismiss at will? I'm a person, not a dog. "Violetta, get out," I said firmly. Her expression shifted instantly and she said, "Carlos, I've lowered myself to coax you. What more do you want me to do?" I laughed bitterly. She thought that because of her noble status, I should be grateful and cling to her. "Stop being pretentious, Violetta. Listen carefully. I don't love you anymore. No matter what you do, I will never get back together with you." Violetta dropped the peanuts and grabbed my arm. Her expression turned frightening. "What did you say?" she demanded. I looked into her eyes and said, each word slow and deliberate, "I don't love you anymore." Chapter 6. Violetta's eyes narrowed, a flash of anger crossing her face. Taking advantage of her momentary distraction, I pried her fingers off and quickly opened the door to go inside. But Violetta wouldn't give up. She went to my mom, trying to convince her to push me into remarrying her. "You must remarry Violetta immediately," my mom insisted. "She's the only daughter of the richest men in Hing. With her, we'll have endless money." My mom had never shown me any real love. If my grades were bad, she would scold and hit me, seeing me only as a tool to make money. "I won't remarry her," I told her firmly. "If you keep pushing me, don't blame me for cutting ties with you." After saying that, I hung up the phone. Worried that Violetta might continue to harass me, I discussed the situation with Tomas. We decided it would be best if I found someone to pretend to be my girlfriend. He immediately recommended his childhood friend, Maria, saying she would be happy to help. I'd met Maria a few times, but wasn't very familiar with her. After some hesitation, I called her and briefly explained my situation with Violetta. Maria agreed readily and came to see me after work. We went back together, and sure enough, Violetta was waiting for me at my doorstep once again. But this time, she wasn't holding anything. She just stared at me and pointed at Maria. "Who is this woman?" I asked, holding Maria's hand. "This is my girlfriend," I added. Violetta's face turned red with anger. "Impossible! You're mine!" Before I could respond, Maria spoke up. "Carlos divorced you. What makes you think it's impossible?" Violetta narrowed her eyes. "Don't think I don't know what you're trying to do. You're just trying to provoke me by finding someone." Before she could finish, I turned and pretended to kiss Maria, though I didn't actually touch her face. "Violetta, we're divorced. Whether I date someone or get married again is none of your business." Violetta's expression twisted with rage. She glanced at Maria's clothes and scoffed. "You want to be with this poor woman?" I glared at her angrily. "Don't insult my girlfriend." Violetta looked at me with a tight expression, as if she wanted to burn a hole through me, then turned and walked away. I looked at Maria with full apology. "I'm sorry for what I said earlier. Please don't take her words to heart." "It's okay," Maria smiled. "I'll treat you to dinner sometime." "Thank you," she added, and I nodded in appreciation. I thought after the events of the night before that Violetta wouldn't come after me again, but the next morning, as I was about to leave for work, someone suddenly covered my mouth from behind. Everything went black, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself lying on an unfamiliar bed. I immediately sat up and looked around. Violetta walked over to the bedside with a smile. "Carlos, you're awake." I looked at her warily. "Where am I?" "This is our home," Violetta replied cheerfully. "Carlos, you won't have to squeeze into that rented room anymore. Whatever you want to eat, just tell the servants." She had drugged me and brought me to her home. I was shaking with anger. "Violetta, I never agreed to reconcile with you. What you're doing is illegal." Violetta looked at me, her face softening for a moment. "Carlos, are you still angry about me deceiving you before? I'm sorry, okay? I just want you to let me go." "No," I retorted. "You don't get to make those decisions. We're divorced, Violetta. You have no right to do this to me." Chapter 7. Violetta grabbed my hand forcefully. "We can get married again, Carlos. Please don't leave me. I really know I was wrong." I looked at her, a chill rising from my feet. But I knew I couldn't show weakness. If I did, she would keep pushing, thinking she could control me. I forced myself to stay calm and shouted, "Violetta, are you crazy? I already told you I don't love you. Stop clinging to me so shamelessly." Violetta ignored my words, her face determined. "I don't believe you. I know you still love me." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "Violetta, if Tomas hadn't betrayed you, you'd probably be getting married by now. You wouldn't even think of me. I'm begging you. Let me go." Violetta shook her head. "It's not like that. I admit I had ulterior motives when I first approached you, but I really fell in love with you later. Tomas means nothing to me anymore. You don't have to worry about him." She took a bank card from a nearby drawer and shoved it into my hand. "Carlos, I really love you. I'll give you all my money." I pulled my hand back, letting the card fall to the ground. "I don't want it." Violetta's face twisted with fury, and she slapped me hard, shouting, "Carlos, stop pretending you don't love money. You care about nothing but that." The next moment she became flustered, leaning toward me, her voice soft. "I'm sorry, Carlos. Does it hurt?" "I didn't mean it." She grabbed my hand and placed it on her face, as if urging me to hit her back. "Go ahead, hit me." I thought she was truly crazy, and instinctively, I pulled away. "Violetta, what do you really want?" "I want you to love me," she said, her voice desperate. "Stop dreaming," I replied, my voice firm. "Violetta, we're over." Violetta cupped my face, trying to kiss me. I tried to dodge, but couldn't. Gripping my teeth, I said, "Violetta, have some self-respect." Violetta paused for a long time, her actions stopping. After a while, she said, "Carlos, I'll give you time. I believe we can go back to how we were." I closed my eyes, unable to look at her. "Leave me alone. I need time to think." "Okay, Carlos," she finally said. "I'll listen to you." She left, and I could feel my tense nerves relax. I needed to stay calm and find a way to escape, to make Violetta let her guard down. I pretended to comply, eating and sleeping as usual. On the fourth night, Violetta opened the door to my room and entered, only to find the room empty. "Carlos!" she called, but I was already standing behind her, shoving her hard. She fell to the ground, and I took the opportunity to run out of the villa. I didn't know the way, so I just ran as fast as I could, trying to get as far away from Violetta as possible. Suddenly, I bumped into someone. I looked up, and my heart leapt with joy when I saw Tomas. "It's me," Tomas said. Since I went missing, Tomas and Maria had been searching for me, suspecting that Violetta had taken me. They had been staying near her villa, just in case. As Tomas and I were about to leave, I heard hurried footsteps behind us. Violetta, with several bodyguards, had caught up. She glared at me with fiery eyes. "Carlos, how dare you deceive me? Did you never plan to come back to me?" I looked at her coldly. "Violetta, do you think you're the only one allowed to deceive others?" Violetta gritted her teeth. "I've been trying to make it up to you, bringing you to live with me, giving you the best life. Isn't that enough?" Chapter 8. I found her utterly ridiculous. Did she really think money could solve everything? What I had always wanted wasn't about those things, but she would never understand. "Violetta, do you know why I can't forgive you?" I asked, my voice calm. "Because I'm just an ordinary person and all I want is a peaceful and stable life. I once thought of you as my everything, wanting to give you the best of everything, but you trampled on me cruelly. For days I had nightmares. and you were in every single one of them. You became my worst nightmare." Violetta shuddered and took 2 steps back. Tomas and I walked away, and Violetta didn't follow. She just stood there, frozen. After that, Tomas and Maria often came by to check on me. Maria, in particular, showed me so much care as a true friend. I began to see that her personality was truly wonderful, open, honest, and straightforward. One evening, as we were walking, Maria suddenly turned to me and said, "Carlos, I've liked you for a long time. Can you give me a chance to be your girlfriend?" I was taken by surprise. "Sorry, Maria, I'm not ready for a relationship right now, but thank you for liking me." Maria smiled warmly. "It's okay. I understand. I know Violetta affected you a lot. I'll wait for you to recover, and I'll prove to you that this isn't just a passing feeling. I really like you." Hearing Maria's sincere confession, I couldn't say I wasn't moved. But after everything I went through with Violetta, I couldn't bring myself to jump into a relationship so quickly. So I kept my distance. Soon after, I moved to another city, and Violetta didn't come looking for me again. My life returned to peaceful quiet. 3 years later, with the savings I had put aside, I opened a bakery. As a child, I never had enough to eat, and seeing other kids munching on bread always made me envious. I had always dreamed of owning a bakery. I never expected that my first customer would be Maria. I looked at her in surprise. "What are you doing here?" Maria smiled and said, "Aren't you hiring staff, boss? I came for the job interview." I smiled back. She stayed on to help me open my shop. Over time, we naturally grew closer. I found out that Maria had liked me since the first time she saw me, but had never had the courage to say anything. When Thomas asked her to help me, she was overjoyed because she finally had the chance to meet me. The bakery business took off quickly, and before long, it was turning a profit. Life became easy and happy, and I felt no pressure. My relationship with Maria was stable. Her love for me wasn't overwhelming, but it was steady, enduring, and real. One day, Tomas came by to visit, and during our conversation, he mentioned Violetta. I learned that 2 years ago, she had been in a car accident and almost died. Her legs were the most severely injured and had to be amputated. Not only that, but her family's business had begun to decline and was no longer prosperous. When I heard about Violetta's fate, I felt nothing, no pity, no sorrow. It was as if I had never known her at all. Perhaps it was because I had already let go of the past. Her fate no longer had anything to do with me. After Tomas left, I sat in my chair for a long time, deep in thought. Maria came over and gently took my hand. "What's on your mind?" I took out a ring and looked at her. "Maria, will you marry me?" Maria's eyes widened, and she immediately covered her mouth, tears welling up. She had waited a long time for this moment. She nodded and whispered, "Yes, I will." I pulled her into a hug, my heart full of joy. I truly believed that real love could withstand the test of time, which is why, after all the twists and turns in our lives, Maria and I ended up together,